Amber, where's Amber? Are you ready? Now, in great wrestling fashion, I have heard many wrestlers sing and we don't do it well. But in great wrestling fashion, on three, if we would all wish Coach happy birthday with happy birthday, Coach, I think that works real well. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Coach!
Okay. Wow.
Well, thank you all very much for coming. Thanks for the nice introduction. There wasn't a whole lot of embellishment, I don't think, I hope. I want to thank each and every one of you today for supporting our program and attending this function. You know, it's great. It's a great honor to be in the presence of someone who is daring, brave, courageous. I'm going to kill you guys, I swear to God. All right, so they've messed up my beginning here. Restart. My birthday was 4 days ago. They're like way late.
It's early for next year.
No, I don't
The sprinkler system would go off.
I will burn the building down.
21, right? Yeah. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. And blow it out. Yeah, it's one of those trick candles you can't blow out. Oh, it's not a trick candle. You're not going to like the next workout, I'll assure you of that. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Doris. Happy birthday to you. You have to open it now too? Oh, you guys are killing me, man. Better be money. Do I have to open this, really? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Go ahead, open it up. It's a plaque. And it says the power of a leader. True leaders are not those who strive. I hate you guys. I told you I wasn't going to cry, but this is hard. All right, true leaders are, well, you read it, because I can't.
All right. It says true leaders are not those who strive to be first, but those who are first to strive and who give their all for the success. I can't speak. Success of the team. True leaders are the first to see need and vision plan and empower the team for action. By strength of the leader's commitment, the power of the team is unleashed.
Man. Oh, got restart. Yeah, right. Anyway, see, it screws up everything I gotta say now, but I'm gonna do my best here. What I was gonna say was it's a great honor to be in the presence of someone who is daring, brave, courageous, willing to sacrifice so much, one who risks life and limb for the benefit of others, placing faith and hope in so many other people to accomplish a lofty goal. A man who's both brilliant and humble at the same time. I can talk about myself all day long. And hopefully you get the joke, right? Thank you, Dom. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about the hopes and dreams of our wrestling club at Florida Gulf Coast University, and then I'd like to introduce our team to you. Because we're not a varsity program, we get very limited support from the university. And we have to create fundraising events such as this to raise the money we need to run the program, okay? Room and board, travel entry fees, uniforms, warm-ups, other wrestling equipment, headgear, wrestling mats. They're necessary items for the program to to continue, to be able to practice and work out and do what we have to do. The club's been in existence for approximately, actually, Kenny says 3 years. I guess that was since I got there. Okay, well, 2.5 years ago, I was doing a clinic down at Bear Collier High School, and there's a guy in the back working out. He looked a little older than the high school kids. And he comes up after the clinic and he says, "Hey, would you be interested in helping us out at Florida Gulf Coast University?" And you know, I always like to help people out, but when it comes to kids, I have a really hard time saying no. And this is where I ended up today. 3 years later, I said, "I'll give you a year. I'll give you a year." And 3 years later, I'm still here. And I can't help it. As a training and educational tool, the club officers, all the club sports at Florida Gulf Coast have officers. They have president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and they basically run the program. Okay, they have to schedule the meets, they book the rooms, they book the vehicles, they pay the entry fees and all that stuff. And basically, I'm supposed to just coach. It doesn't work that way all the time, but that's what it's supposed to be. Okay, and then they make bills to present to the Student Government Association, which is where we get some of our funding, very limited amount. Okay, so they do an awful lot of work. It's basically run by all of the students on the team. They have to run the program. For the first few years, the club never had an actual wrestling coach. One of the wrestlers basically served as a coach. That's how it worked until Dan Weiner had asked me to become involved with the team. Okay. They promised me a small, and I do mean a small stipend, okay, if I could help. And when I went home and told my wife about my good fortune, she smiled at me, she shook her head, and she said, "You know, it's going to cost us some money, isn't it?" I just nodded and I said, "Yeah, it's going to cost us a little money." We practice in a warehouse facility 10 miles off campus for the last 2 years. And as you can imagine, it's very difficult to get kids to make it to practice because they got to get a ride over there. And a lot of the freshmen and sophomore kids don't have cars, so you got to bum a ride from an older guy, you know, and it was a hassle. And needless to say, it was difficult to field a competitive team, plus it ate up a lot of our budget. This year, the university found a place on campus where we could practice. It's a legal arena. They have an auxiliary gym upstairs behind some bleachers, and it's a very nice space to work out in. Okay, and they provide us with a time slot that allows us practically no excuse to not be successful. Okay, this is the way I look at it. All they need now is a coach, and they're going to take off. Because the implementation of Title IX, also known as gender equity, on college campuses across the nation, many men's sports were dropped in order to offer athletic opportunities for women. Okay, sports like wrestling, baseball, track, swimming, diving got dropped all over the country. As a consequence, many of those schools now have club sport programs. And that's where we are with our wrestling club here. Our national governing body for all schools that have a club wrestling program is called the NCAA. It's called the National Collegiate Wrestling Association. There's over 140 club programs in the United States and growing. There's 9 conferences, and our national tournament's held in March in Allen, Texas. We have 11 weight classes starting at 125, and they go up to heavyweight, which is anything over 235 pounds and under 280. Top 6 placers in each weight qualify for the national tournament. Our conference, the Southeastern Conference, we have 18 teams. We're allowed to enter 2 wrestlers at each weight class, and they can both qualify for the nationals if they both place in the top 6 in their weight class. Okay? Only one kid can be determined to be a point getter to score team points. So that's kind of sometimes the tricky part. As a coach, my goal is to be the best, to be national champions. Okay? I'm not a big fan of mediocrity. Anybody who knows me, you know, I'm not real intense. As my friends from Mariners Cove, you kind of know that, right? Not real intense, no. There's 2 things in life that are real easy to do. One is to be happy being average, and the other is to quit when things get difficult. And I've been doing this a long time. I've been around a lot of great athletes. People that say, you know, what do you want to do this year? How good do you want to be? I want to be the best. I want to be a national champion. I want to be a state champion. okay? We want the team to win the nationals. But when it comes down to it, a lot of them are happy just being average, okay? And one of the reasons is because it's too hard. You have to be a different kind of a bird to want to be the best. You have to live a different lifestyle. You just do. You have to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. And if you're not willing to do those things, then I always tell people, don't complain about where you end up, don't make excuses, and don't blame somebody else, because only you control all those character traits that it takes to be where you dream of being. I love challenges, I love competition. Sometimes winning is not the most important thing. More importantly, it's who you develop into as a person as a result of those experiences of trying to be or reach a very lofty goal. When these athletes leave this program at Florida Gulf Coast, if all I've taught them how to do is to be a better wrestler, then I failed them. I failed in my job as a coach, as a leader, and as a role model. Perhaps we don't win the national championship, but these young folks are going to learn more about the value of education, about being good sports if they don't win. And I think that's real big. You don't always win. You're going to lose. You're going to have some heartbreak in life. But you got to be resilient. You got to be able to bounce back. And you also, when you do lose, you got to shake hands like a man shake hands, like they're supposed to shake hands after a loss. You can seethe about it, you can brood about it, but don't make a fool out of your coach, your team, or your sport, or your parents by being a poor sport. I think that's very, very important. They need to learn how to set high goals. And not just, people always say, well, set short-term, easily attainable goals. Well, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a state champion. I never thought about, I just want to have a winning season, or I just want to qualify for states. I figured if I worked out every day like I wanted to be the best, maybe if I failed, I'd finish second or third or fourth. But if something went wrong, and I set my goals a little lower, then maybe I would never make it to the state tournament. And no, it never worked that way for me that, every year, I poured my heart and soul into this stuff, man. I mean, I worked really hard. I didn't win a state championship my sophomore year. We only had 10th, 11th, and 12th in high school. We didn't have 9th grade. But that was my goal. I ended up 5th in the state. And I had this map of Ohio in my bedroom, and I'd put pins in the cities of the guys that placed ahead of me. And I look around, I go, man, that guy walking around, he was 4th in the state, and that guy was 3rd, and that guy was 2nd. That guy right there is walking around this town, and he was the best at what he does out of everybody who did what we do. He's the best. I wonder what that's like. Because all my brothers were state champions. I kind of wanted to be like that. I thought that was kind of neat. Of course, it was highly impressed upon me that that's what I should be doing anyway. Junior year, I ended up taking 3rd in the state. I lost one match, semifinals by 1 point. I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed. And in my follow-up match to get in for 3rd and 4th, I won an overtime referee split decision, which back in the day, you had 3 referees that refereed the match. And if it was tied at the end of all the regulation and the overtime, then they went over and had a little vote. Who do you think deserves to win? Okay, and then I ended up winning by 1 point for 3rd and 4th. But at least my pins went a little higher on my mat. And then my senior year, I finally won the state championship. And the feeling is awesome. To be able to stand on a podium and look around and go, man, I'm the best at what I do. Out of everyone who does what I do, I did it. I did it. And I'm really not that good. I'm not. I was just willing to do stuff that other people didn't want to do. They don't want to stay after practice and run. They don't want to climb the rope extra. They didn't want to come in early and drill. The more gifted natural athletes, they just took that for granted. But at the end of the year, I did things that they weren't able to do. And it's not because I'm any good. I just have a little different mindset. I want these guys to understand the importance of being punctual, being on time, being dependable, responsible. And when you screw up, admit it. You made a mistake. Accept the responsibility, fix it. You gotta have a good work ethic. That's what life's about, man. You gotta be willing to get up every day and go at it hard. Okay? And that's, I guess, one thing wrestling has taught me. If I want to be good, I just have to work really hard at it. I do. And when I get out in the real world, there's nothing I will ever do that's going to be harder than wrestling. No job I've ever had has been harder than wrestling. It just hasn't. Because of how hard it was to wrestle, just to be average, it was hard. Okay? I want them to understand the value of following rules. Okay? Respecting authority, adults. We've lost a lot of that. And I think that that's a great value to have. And it speaks very well of anybody who can look at authority or adults and you have immediate respect for them. They need to learn how to suffer and sacrifice. Now we live in an age where minimum effort, people want maximum reward. The real world isn't like that. Wrestling's not like that. You want to be rewarded, man, you got to bust your hump. You got to work really, really hard. And you got to suffer and you got to sacrifice. You got to give up things you want over here for something you want down the road. It's no different than putting money away right now for retirement in 40 or 50 years. You think, gosh, I don't want to put 30 or 40 bucks away. I can use that. Well, I'll tell you what, 30, 40 years down the road, it's going to pay off for you. Get yourself a good financial advisor and that stuff will work for you. Same thing in wrestling. It's all the same stuff. They need to understand the value of being a team player. We're all in this together. Everybody suffers together. Everybody sacrifices together. We all work hard together. And we all share the joy and the accomplishments together. Because those are important values and character traits of all people who are successful. All people who aren't very successful, they don't do a lot of this stuff. That's why they're not very successful. And the people who are, whether it's business, whether it's a relationship, whether it's, music or sports, all successful people share common elements in their character. They just do. They got to figure it out. They have to be resilient. And that attitude of persevering when things aren't always going to go your way. You're going to work really, really hard and you're going to get upset. You're going to have something happen and you go, gosh, I wasn't expecting that. Well, you know what? You got to bounce back, baby. You get knocked down, you pick yourself up, and you barrel back at it again. Because that's what champions do. That's what winners do. I want to learn to take pride in everything they do. Not just wrestling. Cleaning the mat. Take great pride in it. My wife loves the lessons I've learned in wrestling because I clean toilets. Cleanest toilets you will ever find. I vacuum. Bought a vacuum. I told her you will not touch the vacuum. That takes me an hour to vacuum our house. Take most people 20 minutes. I vacuum everything, cats included. I get everything. But it's a pride that I learned in wrestling. Now there's other things where she'll say,
I think you better stop there.
yes. And most of all, I want these people that when we're done with this program or being under my tutelage, I want them to understand the value of having integrity. When you give your word, it's got to be worth something. That's important. Okay, everything you do, you gotta be honest about it. I tell the kids on the team, I'm not your enemy. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to make you work hard. I'm going to make you feel sometimes like I am your enemy, but I'm not. I'm trying to help you. I want you to be the best. However good you want to be, I'm going to help you as much as I can to get there. Okay? I'm not the bad guy. I'm going to tell you need to change some of your lifestyle choices. You need to adjust some of your behaviors. If you want to be where you truly tell me where you want to be at the end of the year. You want to be the best, you got to make some changes. That's all there is to it. It's not fun, and it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be the best. Okay? That's a special place for special people who are willing to do a lot of special things to be there. Okay? And again, if you don't want to do it, I can't make you do it. I tell kids, I'm not going to make you run hard if you want to run hard. If you want to come into practice, you can put on your back, and you don't fight hard to get off your back. I'm going to tell you, you need to fight hard to get off your back. But if you don't want to do it, I can't make you do it. But I will tell you this much. If you have those qualities that are innate, they're in you, They will come out. You will show your pride. They will show your courage. You will show the fight, the determination, your work ethic, your discipline. You will show all that stuff. It'll come out in the sport. If you don't have it, I can't put it there. Nobody else can. There's a lot of people who want to hire people like that. Would you agree? That's the product I want out on the streets when they walk out of this wrestling program. I want you to hire kids like this that you know there's nothing you will ever give them that's going to be harder than what they did in wrestling. And they're going to be good, solid workers for you. Good, honest workers. I'm going to introduce the team, and if all of you will come stand up here and I will introduce you. It's not like practice where you take your time. Hurry up. And this isn't quite everybody, because a few people have already left home to be with their families, which is okay. Okay? David Nugent, 125 pounder. Okay. Justin Jimenez, he's our 157, possibly dropping to 149, maybe. We're still discussing options. Dan Weiner, he's our 149 pounder, possibly dropping to 141. See, we do these things to look at how we can get the best, the toughest lineup and the strongest lineup when we go into our conference qualifiers and the national tournament. Okay, we're ranked 16th in the country right now, and there's two divisions. There's a Division I in the NCAA, and there's a Division II. We're Division II, which is called an emerging program. We want to be in Division I, which is where the really good teams are. Okay, but we're ranked 16th overall. There's only one other NCAA Division II team ranked ahead of us at this point. But rankings don't mean much until the end of the year. And I'm flattered that they have us that high, but it doesn't mean anything. We have to prove that we're worthy of that kind of ranking or higher. And what we're looking to do, some of these guys are looking at, right now, it'd be a hard cut to hold that, lose the weight and get down there and hold it off. But we're going to start looking at maybe January, and these guys are determining whether they want to drop down another weight class, but they have to be able to function optimally at that weight class, like they do now at the higher weight class. So, anyway, didn't mean to get off track, but Dan's 149, maybe looking at 141. Kenny Hurd's the president of our club, and I forgot to tell you, Justin, what are you, secretary or treasurer? He's our treasurer of our club. Kenny Hurd is our 164, 574, 184. He's wrestled anywhere. Coach, where do you need me this week? I don't know. Let's look at the lineup and see what we got. Okay. Jimmy Keegan is our vice president. He's our 165 pounder. And you're going, what's that girl doing? She wrestles. We actually have, in the NCAA, a women's national tournament. And there's probably about 20 teams that have women's wrestling team. And she doesn't look very tough, but I'm telling you, she's got some toughness. She's a 106 pounder. 101? I'm sorry, she's dropping down too. She's got to go later. Then there's Vince, or Vinny.
Either one's fine.
Okay, Vinny Giovanetta, 190. And this is another guy. He comes in, he says, Coach, do you need me heavyweight? Well, heavyweight's between 235 and 280. I go, Vinny, what do you weigh? He goes, 200, 205. What's closer to your weight, 197 or 235 or heavy? Well, 197. Okay, let's try 197. Okay? He's our 197. He was a runner-up in the state of Florida a couple of years ago when he wrestled in the state of Florida here. Austin Vasion. He's our 133 pounder. And this is another guy where, we get to a tournament or something, he goes, Coach, you want me to go 141? Well, you got to realize he's a 133 pounder. He weighs in at 130. He's got to weigh 133 if he bumps up to 141. Those 141 pounders are coming from 155, 160 down to 141. And he's wrestling some horses. But, I admire that because when I wrestle, I'm not wrestling anybody bigger than me. Right? cut to 126. I'm not wrestling 134, Coach. I'm wrestling 126 all year round. I'll make it in October, November. I'm staying here all year. But I admire guys that will come in and say, Coach, where do you want me? I'll wrestle whatever weight you want. And sometimes it's a losing proposition. But I admire that courage. Okay, and then we got Giovanni Giovanetta. I mean, he was a runner-up in the state of Florida last year. Okay, and on the end we have Cody Cardinale. Cody's going to be our 141 pounder this year. So we actually in January we'll be having a couple of other new enrollees at Florida Gulf Coast University that might fill our heavyweight and our 235-pound slot. We wrestled University of Central Florida a couple of weeks ago. They are ranked number 3 in the nation overall, and they're a Division I school. We were tied going into the last 2 matches of the night, and we didn't have 235, and we didn't have a heavyweight, so we have to forfeit, and they get 6 points. They ended up beating us 30-18. But I'm going to tell you something, our weight classes weren't adjusted either. We had guys bumping up, wrestling out of their weight class. And I believe we're going to surprise them when we wrestle them again next time. So this is our part of our team. We're missing probably 6, 7 people. But this is what we have right now, our core for today. And And then, you know, I know they introduced my wife earlier, but
Way over time.
I understand. Everything's a partnership. You know, she's been a part of every championship I've won as a coach. Okay? She's a big, big part of my success.
You're done.
Yeah, I know I'm done. So, she tells me on a regular basis, she always reminds me, she said, you know, just the other day, about the 100th time I've heard it, she goes, you know, if I would have killed you when I first wanted to, I'd have been out of prison by now. And I'm working on another one, I guess. But I want her to, you know, I want you guys to know that, you know, being married to a coach is not, being married is hard, but being married to a coach is really, really hard. She understands my passion and my love for what I do. Even though, you know, I don't get paid much, or even paid. I just love it. And I love helping kids be a little more successful today than they were yesterday. And like I said, hopefully when they leave this program, they go out and they draw on a lot of the things they learned in this sport. They draw on to be bigger successes in their real life when they get jobs and have families and run a business. I have one other little thing I'd like to do because I just think it's a fun thing to do. Ron Amy, will you stand up, please? Or are you standing? No, Ronnie's standing. There he is. Ronnie is a dear friend of ours from Mariners Cove, where we live. Keep standing. It's his birthday today, and he is sharing it, part of his day, with us here. And I am very grateful, and I wish that we can sing happy birthday to Ron. Ready? Sure. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ron. Happy birthday to you. And thank you all again so much for for bearing with me and letting me indulge in my my love of this sport and my emotion. Because this is the most emotional sport I've ever been. I've played a lot of sports, but this, bar none, it just absolutely eats me up, as you can tell. And I love what I do, and I love working with the kids, and I love people like you guys who support us. So thank you all very much, and I'm going to introduce Major Mike Peterson, and he will introduce our guest speaker. Major Peterson. There we go.